Alright, so welcome back guys. If it's your first time here, I'm Vision here. I'm Butter tampering you guys in a video, telling you guys my part 2 to my Power Rangers Nickelodeon / Neo Saban retrospective. Now, Power Rangers, since you're interested, don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below, hit that bell icon, and miss more Power Rangers content from me moving forward. Now let's begin. Now this is part 2 of my retrospective. If you haven't checked out part 1, I definitely suggest you do that. You don't have to check it out as right away, but I definitely recommend it. There I cover Samurai through Dino Charge. Here I'm gonna go over Ninja Steel through Dino Fury, plus give my overall retrospective and thoughts on the show being on Nickelodeon. Now definitely check that out if you haven't already. And now if you're here and just coming back from that video, here's my thoughts on Ninja Steel. Now Ninja Steel is a weird one for me. For me, I think I'm going to be in a minority where I say Ninja Steel was at least kind of a Samurai to be in a decent season. It borderlines on being another Megaforce, but I don't think it's as bad as Megaforce. I think there are parts of Ninja Steel that were good, but parts of it were bad. I think the Rangers definitely were good. Going off of Dino Charge, they definitely gave these Rangers more of a personality. They weren't just, people doing, not having lives outside of being Rangers. They did kind of recycle the whole looking for their dad with Brody copying off of Tyler, which is kind of not original, kind of annoying, but it still gave him something else to do. You had Preston the Magician, you had, Calvin into Cars, Sarah the Billy type Brainiac character, and you had Levi Weston, or Aiden. Now this is one of the things where I kind of feel mixed about is Levi, because Levi was an interesting idea and concept of him being this popular and famous country music star. However, after he's introduced, it kind of goes to the wayside and is forgotten. I think it'd been interesting to see him try and balance being a country star and also being a ranger. It would have been an interesting aspect to see something different, but from the moment that they introduced him as being the Gold Ranger, he pretty much it's forgotten that he's a country artist and he just re-enrolls in school and goes on with his life. It should have been more prominent with him being a country star. It just felt like they needed that to kind of match how his Sentai counterpart looks, so they went that way, but then just dropped the whole thing after the fact. And that's just where I stand. It was a decent season. The one thing that annoyed me was that once they had introduced Levi and said, "Oh, this is actually Aiden," they just kept referring to him as Levi. Why can't you refer to him as Aiden? That's his real name. Levi Weston is his stage name. That's one thing that always never made sense to me and kind of frustrated me about Ninja Steel is like, why that? The one thing I'll say about about Ninja Steel is Mick was a decent mentor compared to some of the other ones previously. He's probably up until this point, I think he was probably one of the best. He definitely had his faults. He wasn't perfect, but he definitely was a decent mentor. I also find it was great that Kelson Henderson finally actually got to be an actual ranger in the finale. I thought part 1 of the finale for season 1 was good. If it was a decent finale, I think the villains were okay. I feel like Rip kind of was very generic. Galvamax kind of was okay to decent, having this goal of gaining the Ninja Steel, the Power Stars. It was kind of a rip-off again of Sledge, but since it was it was still different in its own right, that I kind of give it a pass. Plus I like the whole idea of the villains running this whole game show. That's a really cool and interesting concept, so I really like that. Manamodius was really good, plus it also helped that she stayed on for the second season. The generals though in season 2 are kind of forgettable. They're not like as big as some of the other seasons. Yes, they were okay. They definitely could have been improved upon, but they were decent villains, I would say, for the most part. I will say this again though, Madame Odious definitely was better and definitely helped to the fact that she was the main villain for Super Ninja Steel. I will say this much though, with Ninja Steel is a lot of the story arcs kind of felt forgettable. That's where Ninja Steel kind of has its biggest faults. Like I'll bring this point up mainly for myself is when we got to close to the finale for Ninja Steel. I didn't even realize it was the finale. I didn't realize we were at the finale. I just figured it was a small mini arc, but then I realized it was actually the finale. I'm like, wait, the show's over? Like, that's kind of how I felt. I think the only decent part of Ninja Steel kind of was the Super Ninja Steel arc regarding the Galactic Ninja Warriors. I think that was a really good arc with the Rangers. It was definitely something that's kind of memorable. Plus, it led into the anniversary episode, which is a solid anniversary special in my opinion. It brought back some good Rangers. You had Jason Font and JDF return. You had Gemma return. You had a lot of good returning Rangers. It would have been better if it was a two-parter, but it was definitely a decent, anniversary episode. I think that for the most part, they did good there. Like I said, Ninja Steel suffers from a lot of things feeling like filler episodes. You got the Adventures of Redbot, which is a very, very idiotic episode. Redbot shouldn't even be there. He was just like a ripoff of Alpha and C-3PO. He really wasn't necessary. For the overall, I think it was a decent season. I think the one thing that really dragged down the season that was Victor and Monty. I think if Victor and Monty had been not there, I would have liked Ninja Steel a bit better. I'm not saying Ninja Steel is a perfect season. No, it's not. It's nowhere near a perfect season. I said it has a lot of filler, which is very bad for a season. It definitely is better than Megaforce and kind of on par with Samurai. It was a decent season. Next, we move into the hasbro era with Beast Morphers. Now, Beast Morphers, for the most part, from what I've seen from fans, has broken a lot of top 10s. For me, I wouldn't put it in my top 10. I'd maybe put it in my top 15 to top 20 at least. It was a good, decent return to form for PR and a good start for the Hasbro era. I liked all the core Rangers for the most part. My biggest issues though were Nate and Steel, with the whole them being brothers. That really annoyed and got frustrating and old after that, because I feel like they had to bring it up every episode and shove it down your face. It was just annoying. Plus, you have one of the most cringiest scenes in PR with that stupid dance number and the one where they switched bodies. It was just all around cringe. Plus, I hated the fact that they made Steel human at the end. I get what they're going for that, but I enjoy it better when a Ranger gets sacrificed and they return. I just feel like it adds more to your sacrifice than them being resurrected at the end of the season. I just hate that. I hated it when they did it with Kendricks. I hated it when they do it with Gem and Gemma, and I hated it here. But like I said, the core three were good. I liked Devin, kind of reminded me of Wes. Zoe was a good character. Ravi was a good character. I would say similar to the previous generals of this time though, Commander Shaw just didn't feel like that great of a general. I did like the whole twist regarding Evox being Venjix, a great, adds a lot of good rewatch value to Beast Morphers. Plus, you got a good cameos from Dr. K due to that, so that was awesome as well. Overall, I would say it was a decent season. I liked Blaze and Roxy as the robotic generals. They were really cool. I did like Roxy better though. I feel like she ran off of more psychotic and, manipulative behavior compared to Blaze, who just kind of went off of anger and revenge. So I liked her better. Like I said, Squazzo was just there. He definitely kind of felt like a weak end to the villain side. I feel like that always seems to happen though with the ones that are responsible for like making the monsters or growing the monsters. I always feel like they end up being like the furry or weaker end of the villain side. But again, I feel like it was a decent and good season. The thing that hurt Beast Morphers bringing me the most though was a lot of it kind of felt like fillery, and I think that's one of the issues here, is that a lot of the episodes felt fillery, and then you got Ben and Betty who kind of were like Victor and Monty. They started out decent, but after a while it kind of became more of an annoyance and something I didn't want to see in the show, so that really frustrated me. Overall it was a decent season. You had the good connection crossover, which was decent and okay. I will say the Dino Charge crossover was better. I really didn't like the way they treated Austin St. John. I feel like they didn't treat him as well as if it was JDF returning. I always feel like anybody ever than JDF returning doesn't get a great, reintroduction, or doesn't get a great story. I feel like JDF is put on a platform higher than the rest of these veteran Rangers, which I don't like, but that's a story for another time. But I just didn't really like that. It was a decent Dino team up. Definitely had areas where it could have been improved, but it was okay to decent for the most part. The last season we have to talk about is Dino Fury Season 1, which just finished up airing at the end of last year, and Season 2 is expected to premiere within the coming weeks to months right now. Now, Dino Fury Season 1, in my opinion, has probably been one of the best seasons we've gotten in the past 10 years. Compared to Beast Morphers, I am loving this season. And I think, similar to what I just said about Nate and Steel, I'm not enjoying the whole cast. I love the cast of Dino Fury. From Zeta the Wise Mentor to Izzy being a Spitfire athletic person, to Ion being a hotshot 6 Ranger, to Amelia's ghost hunting, Javi being a musician, Ali being a jerk to everybody. I just really love the team. I think that they gel well together. I think the actors are very well and actually care regarding the fans and everything. It's a really great season. Void Knight's a very interesting, a bit more complex villain than just wanting to take over the world or destroy Earth. There's more layers to him, where he's trying to save someone he cares about. In some ways you can consider him, he's the hero of his own story. So that's a very different thing that we haven't seen in PR villains in a very long time. So I really like that. He is a very cool suit. He's really great. I love his henchman. Boom Tower kind of was generic, but still good. Cypher is awesome. I think Kobe Campbell has a field day playing that and playing the character and voicing him. I think that's probably like one of his best roles so far. Mucus, I was super nervous about her being an Elgar Nord type character. Like I said in many of my videos talk about Dino Fury, she has turned out the complete opposite. And one of the things I think that helped, like I said, is they gave her this more of a childlike innocence kind of personality. So when she is goofy or does things, they can kind of, at least for me, be overlooked due to that kind of childish kind of nature. So I really like that. We got the return of Lord Zed this season, really great stuff. You have the theory going around of Void Knight's Amelia's dead, which if it's not, I'm going to be extremely shocked, and I'm very curious if it's not what the other plotline would be, because I think 95% of the fan base believes that is the case. So I'd be very shocked if that is not the outcome of her story. But overall, I think Dino Fury has been a solid, true reform to Power Rangers overall. I think one of the things I also hurt Beast Morphers was still the people behind Saban were still having their hands in regards to making Beast Morphers, whereas Dino Fury is completely and 100% under the control of Hasbro, which is, I think, makes a difference. Then you got Jane and J-Borg. Now, I know people don't like her, like the comedy duo. Compared to Victor and Monty and Ben and Betty, I think Jane and J-Borg are decent and better than those two comedy duos. I think they are very well done. There was actually some good humor done where I actually laughed. Yes, that's sometimes they do take away from the overall story, but at the same time, I think they have used them and relegated them to a good enough space where, yes, they show up and kind of have their little gags, but they've also fixed it where they're not, the comedy duo isn't doing all the comedy. You've had comedy from the Rangers, the villains, everyone. So I think that really helped very much. Like I said, I love all the Rangers. Even though this season has had its share of filler, 100%, I think that compared to previous seasons, like say Beast Morphers, where it had its filler, these episodes, I like the Rangers and cast so much more that even though they're filler, I'm even able to more care about them. The holiday episodes with Dino Fury were actually connecting overarching stories, had played a larger role. About a Christmas special, not so much. the Halloween's clip show was better than the years past, so I really like that. I think Dino is definitely a good return to form 100%, and I'm really super hyped to see what they bring to season 2 when it drops on Netflix. Now, last here, I just want to go over some of my last overall thoughts on the Nick era. Now, you've heard me talk about the positives and the negatives, of course, over the Neil Saban/Nick era. But here I'm going to talk about why I believe these things happened, why these things occurred, and why I think we're finally going to get rid of them. Now, first off, the 22 episode count each year, I really hated that. I think that's definitely 100% Nickelodeon thing. I missed the whole 40 episodes a year count. I know people argue that we're still getting 40 episodes per season, but it still sucks that they cut it into 22 chunks each year. I mean, we could have gotten a lot more Sentai adapted. I mean, they probably would have sucked, but it would have been cool to see these different Sentai adapted over the past 10 years that were skipped over. I'm glad we went back to Beast Morphers and got that one. But I think it would have been cool to see those ones adapted as well, especially given the rumors regarding Toby and Saban and the split with them. So that's definitely something I'm disappointed in. Then there's the holiday specials, which really were annoying for the most part. Like I said, the only decent ones I think out of the past 10 years were the Dino Fury ones. The other ones were pretty much pointless and annoying. I really hated that they had to have those. I know those are part of Nick. The slapstick comedy I also believe was also part of the Nick and Saban thing. Really cringy, horrible stuff there. Just all around, like, I'm happy we're finally with Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon really was a terrible place for Power Rangers over the past 10 years, and I don't know how this happened. Nickelodeon is dying in 2010 when they acquired Power Rangers. They had this huge brand that they'd been around for nearly 20 years. They could have done something great and amazing with it, but instead they dropped the ball hard and pushed everything that they could have done with this to the side. They had a terrible promotion, which I think Netflix will definitely give a better promotion. Nickelodeon never played them at any other time except for when they aired. I don't know with Samurai and Megaforce, they premiered them at noon, but out here on the East Coast. But then once we go into Dino Charge, they moved to 8 o'clock. I didn't get up at 8 o'clock to watch it. I DVR'd them and watched it on my own time. I'm not getting up at 8 o'clock to watch Power Rangers. I love the show, but I'm just not getting up at 8 o'clock to watch it. I'm watching it on my own time. So that really frustrated me as well. They had zero commercials or promotions other than toy promotions. I remember back in Samurai, at least, they did do commercials for weekly episodes. I remember that much. But somewhere along the line, those ended. Look, it kept the brand alive for 10 years, which is a positive. It definitely was a good thing that they had it to keep the show going and alive for 10 years. But you get to a point where it just needs to go. It can't sustain there, and I think if Power Rangers had stayed here on Nickelodeon, it probably would have been its death. I think Nickelodeon probably would have killed the brand, so I'm glad Hasbro finally is getting it and moving it to Netflix, and all the old stuff's coming on YouTube. So I'm really happy with what they're doing, and I'm glad we're out of Nickelodeon. And let me know your thoughts, opinions regarding all of this, the entire era, the Neil Saban era, Nick era, all that good stuff in the comment section down below. So yeah, guys, that's my retrospective on the Power Rangers franchise during its run on Nick, as well as sort of my retrospective on the Neil Saban era. As always, if you feel, don't forget to give a big thumbs up and share. Don't forget to hit subscribe button down below. Hit that bell icon. Let me see more Power Rangers content from me moving forward. And go with me on Instagram and Twitter, which is linked in that section of my YouTube channel. As always, my Vision Hero Entertainment, and I'll see you next time.